the people who are serious, not the trolls, not the critics, not the huge critics, you explain it to them and they're like, I have a problem with this. What is there like one or two things that are just the things that you've helped people overcome that they want to invest, but they can't get past this particular thing, but you've kind of got them over that hump?
Well, first of all, in crypto in general, it's very difficult to onboard a no coiner. So you've got to walk through the process of setting them up with an account, whether it's Gemini or Coinbase or whatever it may be. You've got to do that. And so that's the first hurdle. And that takes you a few days because they got to hook their bank account up and do all the KYC ML stuff. And then you get them to buy their first, token, some Ethereum or whatever, because they need it to transact and do the things that you're going to teach them to do. So you have to explain why they have to do all of that. And then you bring them in and then you get them a MetaMask or an internet money wallet or something to that nature to get them over into the real DeFi space. And, and then it's time for them. So the onboarding process is arduous. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be changed. It needs to be easier. So walking somebody through that and letting them know that things are changing and that this is, the beginning stages of all this, which, been around for 12 years and we're still doing it this way. Walking them through that and ensuring them that things are okay, but they are getting their money into a better place once they do get into the real crypto world, out of the exchanges, just boom, in quick, out, just to use it as an onboard platform. And then there's the hurdle that I see. So somebody wants to get into HEX. The first thing they do is they hit Google and they Google HEX. And the first thing they see is Richard Heart. And they start looking at Richard Heart. And then they go down a rabbit hole. And let's face it, there was nothing but FUD in the beginning. They've got whole websites and chat rooms dedicated to defaming Richard himself. On top of HEX, we have all those for HEX too. And then we have his outrage marketing years where all of that stuff is clipped and pushed up there. So when they go into that, then you have to go through the hurdle of talking to them about all of that and why it exists and why it's out there and what it meant. And I just go in and tell people like I do, and I say, look, I see all this, I understand it. And I know that what you're seeing, and I've dealt with all of it for the last 4 years here. And it's not because there's a scam going on. It's because of trying to be loud and get marketing, getting people to hear us. And the fights and the stuff that Richard did was all about getting clicks, about getting attention. The gatekeeping was really about how good the product is. Let's face it. The reason that we're gatekept as much as we are, and the reason people like me aren't allowed to go and talk to, the crypto folks out there, I can't get on these other streams or whatever, is because they don't want to hear what we've done. They don't want people to know what we've done, what Richard has done. They don't want to know about how strong this community is, and it would be awesome to join it. They don't want to know how a crypto is finally decentralized, how L1 has finally been decentralized. They don't want to know that because it goes up against their narrative of continue shilling the Bitcoin so that they can pump their bags. So we're gatekept. And that's what I tell people. And I say, look, the other thing is, and most of them have known me for a long time. I say, I'm a good judge of character. I don't mess around with people who are scammers, with people who are doing the wrong thing. That's not how I run my life. It's not how I operate. Now, I was skeptical of Richard Heart for a long time because I thought he was goofy. First thing, I thought he was just, a tech geek goofball. And then I realized that he was a lot more than that. I realized that he was somebody who had a big heart, that he cared, and that he wanted to change things, and he wanted to make things better, and he wanted to help other people make things better. Now, that's what really hooked me into Richard, was when I started seeing his self-help stuff. I'm like, man, this guy's trying to actually help other people. And that right there, that's where me and him connected. because that's what I do on a regular basis. I mean, my shirt here, my Amuse shirt. This is my niece's organization to help autism. She's got an organization out here in Southern California, and we contributed to it. My foundation contributes to it. And I support people who do things like that in the communities. And I work in the drug and alcohol community myself for helping people with addiction. So I resonated with Richard, and I tell people, look, this guy is a good guy. The things that he's doing are not to enrich himself as far as monetarily, but to enrich himself, to feel better, that he's out there helping other people and changing the world for the better. That's what Richard Heart wants. That's who he is at his core. I've met the man. We've sat down and had dinner. I've talked to him. I've looked him in the eyes. I've streamed with him multiple times. I've watched all of his streams, hours and hours and hours. And there are little things that you see that Richard Heart says and does that makes you realize that he is a good human being and that he is doing right by the people. Now, that was a risk I took early on. And it was the right risk to take because I believed in him. And I say that in the film. I say that on stream. I believed in Richard Heart because of who he was as a human being. And I took that risk. Now, trust is a mathematical equation. I had to give him trust in order for it to come back. You know what I mean? And I trusted Richard Heart. That's what I say in the film. And I trust Richard Heart. I spent my trust capital on him in hopes that he was doing the right thing based on my judgments of him. And he did. He did right by me. He did right by me and my family. And he's done right by the world, in my opinion. So that's, again, why I'm out helping to take his product to the world, because that's what Richard Heart wants. And I'm going to give back to him and help him fulfill his goal of being a good human being that's loved by the world because he brought something to the world that it needs, by helping him to get the word out on that and to help him market it and to put my effort, resources, time, all the things that are important to me, nothing more important than time and money. So I'm going to put all those things into helping him because he's helped me.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's the first reaction people have is either, wow, this is the coolest guy ever, or total scammer. I'm going to go with the scammer part. It's all because it's the easy one, right? It's the easy one. This guy's probably like, if you meet a new person, if you come off the street too, you're going to be like, all right, magician, does some self-help stuff. That's kind of cool. Oh, he's got a crypto. Oh, he's twerking over here. Oh, but he's got, all these followers, all these people, this huge community. It really is hard to say which is which. So you got to take a leap of faith somewhere. I always tell people, like, why this ecosystem and stuff. It's like, you got to bet on some horse. You got to be, if you were going to be involved, you got to, and for me, I got to pick something. If I'm going to pick something, I'm going to go into it as hard as I can do. And Richard, no matter how many Prada bags he buys, or he's silent on Twitter for a week, or whatever happens, it's like, he already built everything we need anyways. So